A man walks along the streets on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, heading toward the intersection of Broad Street and Wall Street. Holding his hand and keeping pace is his 9-year-old grandson. Young Daniel Frischberg is about to get a first-hand look at the New York Stock Exchange. He doesn't realize it yet, but his destiny is to be a major player in the world of finance. What he's learned over nearly 50 years, he'll teach you today, and it's all free of charge. There's a billionaire locked inside you. The key to freedom is information, the kind of information you find here on the MoneyMan Report. Now, here's the MoneyMan. Here's Dan Frischberg.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the MoneyMan Report. Thanks very much for being with me. Here I am with the beautiful Alicia. It is my lucky day once again.
Good morning, Daniel.
Good morning.
You look so happy.
I am happy. So, and I'm happy at a time when everybody that we know is calling, emailing, texting, and saying, oh my God, what is going on? Right? Because they associate us with investing, and they're trying to live in a world. I've been doing this program with you for all these years, and we have promoted one basic idea, and that is you can make more money by owning companies and using capital the smart way than you can by working. Now, there's nothing wrong with working if you like to do if you like what you do, that's great. You're making a contribution. But the fact is, being an entrepreneur and providing things that the world wants and needs pays lots and lots of money depending on how much leverage you use, right? So let's talk about how some of the richest people in the world got that way, because they didn't start out with a lot of money. Even, look, if you were the child of Lord and Lady Playfair in London, you were born in a big house and they had land and serfs and all that stuff. But if you were here, generally families did not start out rich. And some of the richest families in the world didn't really start out rich. John D. Rockefeller. Let's talk about how that's a famous, very, very rich family. One of the richest families in the world. How did it happen? So he had a little bit of money. He worked just like you and me, but he was an entrepreneur and smart. And he figured out something that he later taught to his children, and which you should be teaching to your children. And the only reason you're sitting there not rich like him is because your family didn't teach it to you. The reason that I'm sitting here doing this, never having worked a day in my life other than in the Marine Corps, is because somebody taught this basic idea to me when I was 14, 15 years old. And I've been following through with it all my life. But let's talk about John D. Rockefeller. In more than 100 years ago, he had the idea that there was oil, and oil was very important at that time. It was the Industrial Revolution. People needed oil to lubricate things and to run things, and then they invented the steam engine, and the steam engine. Anyway, bottom line is oil was already valuable and important industrially and for everything. And he had an idea, I don't know why, you could find out why, but he had an idea that there was a lot of oil up in Humble, Texas, which is the area roughly where the Bush Airport is in Houston. And so he had the idea that there was oil there. And of course, he was not a billionaire, but he had a little bit of money, and he went around and he, with a lot of brains, went around and made option deals to be able to be the guy who drilled for oil up there. And he made deals with the people who owned the land, and they would own a little piece of it. And he had the option to drill in these lands where nobody else would be able to drill. He had it. He had the choice. Now, he wasn't obligated to drill. He was the guy that paid. The landowner was the one who received the money. He had to let John D. Rockefeller drill there, and John D. Rockefeller could drill there if he wanted to, but he had options on the land, and he had given a piece of whatever the proceeds from the drilling was to the guy who owned the land so that he would get his option cheaper. So he was very smart. He made these deals. Then he ran around and raised money and got people to chip in with him and invest with him to drill to find oil up there in Humboldt. Mm-hmm. Well, they found oil there, and he owned a big piece of it because he was the guy that put the deal together. He did it largely with other people's money, and he did it by putting down a little bit of money by making options. They were long-term options. They weren't a week or a month like the dopiest traders try to do. He took enough time. He gave himself enough time so that he would be able to do the drilling, and gave himself the time to go around and raise the money and use other people's money. Happily, when he drilled, he found oil. There was oil there. And that became Standard Oil, mm-hmm. which now SO was SO, Standard Oil, and now it's ExxonMobil. But the bottom line is that created one of the richest families in the world. John D. Rockefeller became one of the richest guys in the world. And he did this starting with not that much money, but he did it using ingenuity. And then he taught his kids how to do that. And of course, John D. Rockefeller's kids grew up to be, and grandchildren grew up to be governors and really the highest class people that we have in America. And he did it because of ingenuity. We can do the same thing. We're in a position right now where we've had a virus that shut down everything. And now together, the world has figured out how to make a vaccine and get rid of this virus. Now, different parts of the world are trying to do it differently, but America has got it. We're willing to sell it to everybody. Now they're negotiating about how they're going to finance giving it to countries that don't know how. But obviously, everybody in the world knows that we have to wipe out that virus, and everybody needs to be vaccine. Now, there are a bunch of very, very stupid people who are not willing to get the vaccine. Look, there are some people who are very smart that aren't willing to get it because there's no proof of what happens. They want to have babies and there's no proof of what happens. Does it make you sterile? Does it? Well, the point is there are some good reasons not to do it. But for most of us, however stupid they are, getting the virus is definitely not good. So far, getting the vaccine not only makes sure you don't get the virus, but it doesn't do anything bad to you. And so in my view, you would have to be an idiot not to want to get the virus unless you had some specific, not to take the vaccine unless you had some specific reason. All around the world, all the people who can't get it are dying to have it. And in America,
especially in the Philippines.
I don't know. Yes, in the Philippines, everybody's wants to get it, and they can't really get it, and they can't afford it. Mm-hmm. We get it for free. Bottom line is, most people in America are going to get it, and we are wiping it out already. And already, the virus has been beaten. Yeah. People are doing business, they're going to restaurants, they're going wherever they want, but most of the world hasn't really started to do all of that yet. Mm-hmm. But it's happening. And it's only a matter of time. And I know that most of the world is going to be the virus is not going to be the main thing that's going on in the world a few months from now. It is already not the main thing going on in my life, in your life, right? But it's not going to be the main thing going on in anybody's life for sure 2 years from now, definitely probably 1 year from now. For most of the world, it's a matter of months. And in the meantime, they're going to get back to rebuilding their society. So the first thing that's going to happen is people are going to be flying around. They're going to be going to restaurants. They're going to be using a lot of energy to be more active. And so obviously, if I own a supply of oil and gas, there's more and more demand, and people in the world are going to be gearing up, and then they're going to be flying, and then they're going to be going on cruises, and it's all going to run on petroleum. And if I have a big supply of petroleum under the ground already, and I am a upstream producer, I'm a exploration and production company who already has my land that it's not public land, it's private land. I already have the lease. I already have my drilling rigs there. I already have everything set up so that there's really not very much that Joe Biden is going to be able to do to hurt me. As stupid as the things he's doing are, it's only helping me because I own already a good supply of oil in the ground that I'm able to bring up, and there's tremendous demand growing. And the more he makes it difficult, the worse it is. Now, if you own Exxon or you own a company like that, you also then own a bunch of pipelines and refineries who are really going to be subject to a lot of very stupid policies by the Biden administration. So I would say, if I own upstream, if I own exploration and production companies like Continental Petroleum and Pioneer and those companies, I'm going to make a lot of money soon. And I'm already making a lot of money because the value of their oil is going up and the demand for it is going up as the world recovers. We got to stop for a very quick break in this podcast. There are a lot of radio stations also carrying this, and they have to do commercials, but the podcast will continue right after this. Please stick around with us. This is the MoneyMan Report.
You've heard it said right here, with enough leverage, you can multiply your investing strength and move mountains. So think about it. How'd you like to own companies like Roku or MasterCard or Raytheon and put down as little as 5 or 10% to unlock the treasure chest of unlimited upside gains? You can, all the while drastically reducing your risk, and you can do it with zero borrowing costs. You just need that leverage and a little know-how. So Dan Frischberg is going to allow you to pick his brain to better understand the concept of leverage. These are special online training sessions called the Pick Dan's Brain Option Service. You can use just a little bit of money to potentially make incredible returns. If you want to make real money, you owe it to yourself to take advantage of this once-in-a-blue-moon opportunity. All you have to do to try it is to go online and register so you can see the results for yourself. The cost is next to nothing, and look what's waiting for you. Each week, Dan will discuss a few detailed trades, quality, actionable trades. You get detailed instructions on buying and selling specific put and call options. The Pick Dan's Brain Option Service shares specific underlying stocks, expiration dates, strike prices, and shows you how much money you could make instantly. It's Dan Frischberg's time-tested, proven money-making discipline that he's used for 50 years to make himself and a lot of other people rich. Lots of other benefits are waiting for you, too, if you just register at themoneyman.com. That's all one word, themoneyman.com, for the Pick Dan's Brain Option Service. This is about teaching you the knowledge and skills. It's your responsibility to apply these skills and knowledge to your specific situation. It's too much to detail here, but all the info is right there at themoneyman.com.
You're tuned in to the MoneyMan Report with your host, TV and radio money man, Dan Frischberg. For more information about everything we're talking about, go to themoneyman.com right now. That's themoneyman.com.
Welcome back. This is the Money Man Report. We started in the last little segment talking about how John D. Rockefeller made his family one of the richest families on earth, doing something that all of us can do. And I have a video about how you and your family can learn how to do exactly what John Rockefeller did. Not only with oil, but with all the things that the world wants and needs right now, and you can become a supplier of them. You don't have to be an entrepreneur who starts and finds oil. You don't have to be an entrepreneur who finds aluminum. You don't have to be a guy who discovers a way to distribute the internet to everybody in the world. People are already doing this. It's already there. And they're doing it with public companies that you can own. And you can own these public companies using enormous leverage. You can own them with other people's money. And that's how people get rich right now. I mean, I can tell you about somebody I know that is a hairdresser, and she knows how to make people look good. So she opens a store, and she's struggling to open that store. And then somebody teaches her, you know what? You don't have to struggle like this and grow incrementally, little by little. We can raise money, and we can go and we can open more stores, and you can end up with 50 different hairdressers in different stores, and you can make money on all of them hairdressing. And what you're doing is making money. You're supplying things that everybody wants and needs. Now, the hairdresser, somebody teaches her how to do it, and now she's building this business. But you know what? The guy who taught it to her, who becomes a partner in it, he actually goes and gets other people's money and rents all these places, teaches her how to do it. And now he's collecting money on 50 hairdressers just because he was an ingenious entrepreneur. You don't even have to be that ingenious, because you can take a company that already has aluminum mines, gets bauxite out of the ground and creates aluminum, and then makes this rolled steel, and it ends up being aluminum foil and aluminum framing members and all the stuff that goes into aluminum wiring that goes into houses. You can do all of this stuff, and you don't have to find it. You don't have to have the machines. You don't have to do anything, because you can own that company, Alcoa Aluminum. Not only can you buy as much stock as you want in Alcoa Aluminum, but you can buy options on Alcoa Aluminum stock, just like what John D. Rockefeller did. You can buy them for years. You can have a position in Alcoa Aluminum knowing that the whole world is rebuilding, knowing that the demand for aluminum is shooting up, that there's a limited supply of aluminum, and the only people that can actually find the bauxite, make it into aluminum, and then sell it are already there installed. And you can be an owner of that company using minimal money, and you can make your family rich forever by doing that. There is a video on the moneyman.com that's up there. It's a $100 video, but right now it's free. This is an emergency. Your family needs to know how to do this. And thank God I am able to not charge you money for doing this. You can go to themoneyman.com, watch that video, and it will explain everything you need to know about how people become rich in this economy. Because even the people that invent something great, and even the people that find gold, find aluminum, find stuff, they don't get rich as fast as the people who understand capitalism and actually engage in capitalism.
So what
Produce capital.
What is capitalism to you? Because now it's shifting the definition of capitalism.
Capitalism is taking some resources and using those resources to produce things that people want and need. The more people want it and need it, the more I produce. And the more the world cares about it, the more I'm going to be compensated for doing it. Capitalism is me using ingenuity to get the money to do that, so that it's not only that rich people can do it, it's everybody can do it, because all you have to do is put the deal together. I can put the deal together abstractly. I don't even have to know any of the people involved. I can take an option on Alcoa Aluminum, put in a few $1,000s. Do you know that in the last 1 year, as the world started to realize that it was going to recover from COVID, right? In the last 1 year, so you were able to make 3,000 and something percent on owning options on Alcoa Aluminum. That means 30 times your money. That means if you only had $5,000 and you owned options on Alcoa Aluminum, you ended up owning a big piece of that Alcoa Aluminum. If the stock was only $10 back at that time, but you were getting your shares for 35 cents a piece, you were ending up getting 25%, 25 times more than if you just bought the stock, just because you knew how to use capital. Intelligently use capital to improve the world and then be compensated and make your family rich forever. So that's what capitalism is. Capitalism is when everybody's allowed to do it, and it's not only for rich people. And the sky's the limit, and the more you produce things that people want, the more you supply capital, the more you are an owner of the means of production. The bigger your contribution, the more people care about it, the more they're benefiting from what you're doing, the more they're buying of it, the richer you get. And if your family keeps being smart and keeps making contributions, they keep getting richer and richer and smarter and smarter.
It sounded so simple. Why anybody's doing it? What? I mean, is that just a theory or real? Because why not everybody's doing it?
Well, nobody taught them how to do it. No, look, some people figure out how to do it. Nobody taught John D. Rockefeller how to do it. He just figured it out. But then he taught it to his kids. The reason you who are listening to our podcast right now aren't doing it is because you weren't taught how to do it. So now half of our country, see, when I was in third grade, my teacher in third grade at Yavna Academy was already teaching us that system where you could do whatever you wanted, and the more people cared about it, and you just had to have ingenuity, and you could own the company, and the rewards followed what you do. But nobody's teaching it to kids right now. So they're growing up in a world where they think that the world's not fair because they see other people with stuff and they're not getting the stuff, because no one taught them that the more your contribution is important and the bigger contribution you make, the better your compensation is. And if you do a lot of that with a lot of ingenuity, you become rich. Now, Barack Obama figured it out. It doesn't matter what color you are, because you can own the stock in Alcoa Aluminum. It doesn't matter. You can be whatever color you want. You can be whatever race you want. You can come from wherever you want. You can have the stupidest, worst religion in the world, and you can still buy options on Alcoa Aluminum. And there's a very good chance that it's still going to make you 30 times your money over the next year or two. 30 times your money over the next year or two by using intelligence and a little bit of ingenuity to help people get what they want. And it's not only aluminum. I was giving aluminum as an example. You know what else they need? Simple. You want to know what else they need?
Who's they?
The world.
Good.
There's 1.5 billion people in India, and 97% of them don't have electricity. But a lot of them now, 500 million of them, have got telephones with the internet now, and they're watching Netflix and they're watching pictures of how you live, and they want to live that way too. Their country is trying to get electricity to them. 10 years ago, you could go, we were in India, and you could go from one big city to the next. You could go 200 miles between big cities, and there was zero electricity. Nobody had it. Now, over the last few years, Modi and this country wants to be like us, and their people are learning to be like us because they have the internet on these cell phones, and they know what they want. So what they're doing is they are determined to get electricity to everybody, just like we have. We have electricity for everybody. You got to be nuts if you don't have electricity living here. 97% of them don't have any electricity. But what they did so far is they used an enormous amount of copper, and they built a grid, and they start with power plants, which, by the way, the power plants are running on oil and gas, which they buy from me because I own Continental Resources Petroleum, and I own Pioneer Petroleum, and I own Occidental Petroleum. And so they're buying that stuff from me. Now, what are they doing? They got wires, they built a grid, and they got a big telephone pole with a big transformer to every little village. There is now electricity in every little village in India, or so they say. Mm-hmm. This story is a very good story, and you want to hear the end of it, but you can hear how you can be doing the same thing I'm talking about by going to themoneyman.com, where you will watch a $100 video that I'm letting you watch for free right now. But we're going to be back and continue this story right after this. Please don't touch that dial if you're on the radio, and stick around if you are listening to us on the podcast. We're continuing immediately.
You've heard it said right here. With enough leverage, you can multiply your investing strength and move mountains. So think about it. How'd you like to own companies like Roku or MasterCard or Raytheon and put down as little as 5 or 10% to unlock the treasure chest of unlimited upside gains? You can, all the while drastically reducing your risk, and you can do it with zero borrowing costs. You just need that leverage and a little know-how. So Dan Frischberg is going to allow you to pick his brain to better understand the concept of leverage. These are special online training sessions called the Pick Dan's Brain Option Service. You can use just a little bit of money to potentially make incredible returns. If you want to make real money, you owe it to yourself to take advantage of this once-in-a-blue-moon opportunity. All you have to do to try it is to go online and register so you can see the results for yourself. The cost is next to nothing, and look what's waiting for you. Each week, Dan will discuss a few detailed trades, quality, actionable trades. You get detailed instructions on buying and selling specific put and call options. The Pick Dan's Brain Option Service shares specific underlying stocks, expiration dates, strike prices, and shows you how much money you could make instantly. It's Dan Frischberg's time-tested, proven money-making discipline that he's used for 50 years to make himself and a lot of other people rich. Lots of other benefits are waiting for you, too, if you just register at themoneyman.com. That's all one word, themoneyman.com, for the Pick Dan's Brain Option Service. This is about teaching you the knowledge and skills. It's your responsibility to apply these skills and knowledge to your specific situation. It's too much to detail here, but all the info is right there at themoneyman.com.
You're tuned in to the Money Man Report with your host, TV and radio money man, Dan Frischberg. For more information about everything we're talking about, go to themoneyman.com right now. That's themoneyman.com.
This is the Money Man Report. I'm talking to the beautiful Alicia, who right now asked just the right question, and now she's sitting there relaxing, doesn't have to do anything but look pretty.
That's my job, isn't it?
That's right.
So
your job
can you
is to
talk
look
about
pretty.
why people does not like
Well, wait a minute.
Oxy?
I forgot. I was just starting to talk about the copper and the fact that they now have a step-down transformer, a big transformer in every little village.
Mm-hmm.
And they spent a bunch of money on copper to do that. And by the way, that's one of the reasons that copper was $2 a pound and now it's $4.50 a pound, because the world is building out and everybody knows they need more copper. China is stocking up on all the copper they can get. India is buying all the copper they can get. Everybody knows they need copper. And in the United States, they want to build electric cars. God knows if those things are going to work or not, or if anybody's going to really end up wanting to use them, because they cost twice as much and they're very hard to fix and it's very hard to run, and you can only run on 200 or 300 miles. It's very impractical right now, but they all are talking about they want it. But what they don't realize is that they have to have 2 or 3 times as much copper to build an electric vehicle as they do to build a gas vehicle. Well, that's great, because if they have a gas vehicle, they're buying the gasoline from me and the copper that it takes to build that vehicle. But if they're building an electric vehicle, they need 3 or 4 times the copper to build that electric vehicle, and they're buying it from me because I own Freeport-McMoRan Copper and Gold, who is one of the best and biggest mining companies producing copper for the world. Well, the same thing I told you about aluminum is true of copper. But now think about 1.5 billion people in India. They now have a step-down transformer in every little village, but none of those people have got wiring from the telephone pole to their house. And in their house, it's not wired. And they want to live like we do. They want to be watching TV. They want a toaster and a refrigerator. You understand that they can't store food because they don't have a refrigerator. Do you get that?
I know that.
All right. Yeah, because you were born in a place like that. Yeah. And what we do is we could buy a couple of salads and put them in the refrigerator, eat them 3 days later. They can't do that in India, but they're learning about it. They all want to do it. So now you got 1.5 billion people. They have got transformers with electricity at their town, and now they have to wire it from the telephone pole to their house, wire their house, and they got to buy all the copper to do that from, guess who?
Me.
That's right. And if you're listening to me, why don't you want them to buy it from you? Because this is wide open. Doesn't matter what color you are. Well, if you are an African American, there's a very good chance that if you're very smart, you figured it out for yourself like Barack Obama did. But if you're not thinking about that and you're thinking about you're in an unfriendly world and other people are rich and you're not, and your father is a worker, a janitor,
God bless him,
or he is a chemist and he works at a bio plant or something, whatever he's doing, his family didn't teach him that like John D. Rockefeller's family did. And by the way, it has nothing to do with color, because Idi Amin, and in Africa, there's very rich people who understand exactly what I'm teaching you right now. It's not about color. It's not about race, and it's not about our system being unfair. It is about somebody didn't teach you how to do it. I am here to teach you how to do this, and your family can be rich forever by knowing how to do it.
Where can they find it?
Well, they can. There's a video to teach you everything that you need to know about on the MoneyMan.com, and it usually has cost $100 to watch that video, but I'm not charging 1 penny to watch that vehicle, that video, because we want to change the world. It is time to change the world right now. And by the way, when you own that Freeport-McMoRan Copper and Gold, this is like me teaching this to you is like a flame, a candle. I can light yours and I still have mine. I don't have to feel that when you learn it, I'm losing something. I can teach it to you, and it really only makes my world better.
There's a lot of people telling me, why is Daniel showing his proprietary work? And I said, he wants to share.
Because I'm 75 years old, and the world has been so kind and good to me. And I hear all the people who are not empowered. They grew up in a world where they could be empowered, but now they're getting all this bad information, and they don't know how to do it.
I am empowered. I grew up without electricity, but I found you.
Well, you found the U.S. You came, you had the courage at like 19 years old to come with no money from a little place in the Pacific and came all the way here and made it to Las Vegas, and then saved up a little bit of money.
And I found you.
That's true. And you were already going to succeed no matter what. And you ended up sending yourself to law school and all that. But the bottom line is you got me to do radio programs and television programs. Your ingenuity is what made it possible for us to go from just investing our own money to lighting up the world. And
so it has nothing to do with the color of your skin.
That's right. And it has nothing to do with
I'm a living proof
with whether the country is fair. Now, let me tell you about fairness. If you were born with a 160 IQ, you got a little edge compared to somebody with a 100 IQ. Maybe. A lot of people with 160 IQs are stunted because they were taught that they could do anything they wanted, and they were taught that it was going to be easy. And so people with 110 IQs or 120 IQs run right past them because they're very ingenious and courageous, and they work very hard. But it's a question of taking the gifts that you have and then using them. But the more you make the world a better place, the more you're going to be compensated. And that's the thing that most people are missing. Most of this new generation, most of the half of the people who are voting for socialism and all these stupid policies, those people don't get this one thing. Once they get that, if they understand it, then ingenuity will take over for a lot of them. And that's what happened to Barack Obama. He got the idea that there was a connection between what you do and your rewards. The minute you understand that connection, you know that it's not about what you got, and not about what you were born, and it's not about fairness. You then have to get yourself to the front of the line, and you have to produce the things that people want. I figure out what do they want, what do they have to buy, and then I make sure I own the companies that they have to buy. And I use other people's money to buy those companies, or I make deals with that company to put down maybe 5 or 10% of the money to buy the stock, and I end up buying lots and lots of stock instead of buying a little bit with the money. And now we can buy as much as we want. That's the principle. That's what you can learn by going to themoneyman.com and watching that video.
Say it very slow because
The Money Man. Yes. The Money Man. It's one word. TheMoneyMan.com. www.themoneyman.com. The minute you get there, there's all kinds of stuff. You can read all about us and what we do and where we go and all the programs we have and all the financial aid that we give for people to get those programs. But right there on the front page, you're going to get to click register and take that video immediately. You don't have to wait for the webinar next week, next month. You get immediate gratification. You get to watch it, and it tells you everything you have to know about how to change the life of your family forever. Key. So then we've been talking about aluminum and we've been talking about copper. Now, if you have a little bit more vision, think about this. Everybody knows about the pipeline that New Jersey company who got hacked in, and they weren't able to distribute, and there's gas lines all over the country. Understand what happened there. It used to be that pipelines, you had to guard them, and they were being guarded by armed people, and to get it, you had to have a military group come and take over the pipeline. Now, what they did was they hacked into the electronics of that pipeline, because now we live in this electronic world. They don't live in a world like that out in the desert in Africa.
When you were a Marines, one of your employment.
Well, a lot of my friends, I went to college when I got out of the Marines. I was an enlisted man, went to college. But a lot of my friends who didn't go to college, they were Marines, they were machine gunners, and they were riflemen, and they were demolitions guys. And they knew enough to get a job guarding the pipelines in Saudi Arabia, guarding the pipelines in Africa, all over the place. But that's what it was then. Now what happened is, this is not a military group that took over. Mm-hmm. This is hackers who hacked in and what do they call it? Ransomware. But anyway, the bottom line is that there's a company that's great at stopping hackers. It's called CrowdStrike. The world is going to need, everybody in the world, every big company in the world is going to need CrowdStrike or somebody like them. CrowdStrike is the best one. It's artificial intelligence. The world is not smart enough to understand how big CrowdStrike is going to get. And so that stock in the last couple of months is going down and not up, which is fabulous for me because I just get to buy more and more of it. I'm not only buying the stock, I'm buying those options on the shares of the stock. I'm buying 20 times the amount of stock that my money would buy. And the fact that nobody wants it is making it even cheaper for me to buy. My family will make millions by owning that company, CrowdStrike, for generations. Even after hacking doesn't matter anymore. Again, you want to know how to do all this? Go to themoneyman.com.
Spelled Tom, Harry, Edward, the MoneyMan.
The MoneyMan, one word. And that's all the time we've got right now. Thank you for watching our podcast. And we'll be back very, very soon with another one. Thank you, Alicia. You're listening to the MoneyMan Report. Don't miss it.
See you later.
You've been listening to the sound of your money growing. This has been the MoneyMan Report with your host, radio and TV money man, Dan Frischberg. Hear it again every weekday morning here on Bradenton's WWPR, broadcasting worldwide. It's Better Living Radio.